Hello and welcome back to Home Wisdom with HBH. I'm your host, Erica Barnaby. And today we have a really cool episode with Ryan Nevarez. He is a loan officer and we're going to talk to him in a little bit. But before we do that, you already know the deal. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're listening to us on all your podcast or your streaming platforms. You leave us a comment, you leave us a like, you do all that wonderful stuff. We are growing at a rapid pace. I'm really excited about that. We just posted our new podcast yesterday with an HVAC guy, Jesus, and we got a lot of views on YouTube already, and TikTok is blowing up, so just keep it up. We really appreciate you guys because we are really trying to make this content spectacular, and you know me, all about the knowledge, because more knowledge today means more power tomorrow. Anyways, without further ado, here we go. You guys ready? All right, so like I said, I have Ryan Nevarez with CMG Home Loans here today, and we're going to dive in talking about all kinds of stuff. But before we do that, I'm going to give him the floor, and he is going to talk to you guys about who he is, how long he's been in the game, and what he's most excited about. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
So thank you, Erica, for having me today.
Yeah, of course.
On your show. I'm a native El Pasoan, born and raised in El Paso. I've started in the business back in 2001. So I've got 23 years of experience under my belt.
Sheesh.
So yeah, I've got more years in the business than some people have at their age, right? I love my job. I love what I do. It's the only career I've had as an adult. Mm-hmm. Prior to this, I was waiting tables at the restaurants, and I was going to school, but I wasn't going to class. I was enjoying my life a little too much in college days, and I just realized that school was not for me, and that's okay. Everybody has their own path. Yeah, my mom brought me into the business. We had a mortgage company called Mortgage Concepts for the first 8-9 years of my career, and we did really well. We had a really strong team back in the day. If you can believe it or not, for the first 8-9 years of my career, I didn't even know what an FHA loan was.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We were doing all subprime loans. But yeah, for the first 8-9 years, I didn't do VA loans. We didn't do FHA loans. I didn't even know what they were.
Didn't even know they existed. Right. That is wild.
But we were doing other kinds of loans. We were doing 100% financing for borrowers who, stated income is what they called it. Mm-hmm. They just tell us what their income was. They just state their income to us. That's
I'm a millionaire. Great.
Pretty much, yeah. And we just write it down in our application because we took everything by hand back then.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I know. In 2008, I had just graduated high school, so I was not privy to any of this information. But looking back now that this is my job and learning and listening to the people, I can't believe the shit that people got away with back in those days. Like, hey, yeah, just tell me how much you make. How much do you want, right? How you want a $600,000 house? That's cool. This is the number I need you to tell me you make. What? Mm-hmm. But I think we had to go through that for the government to make the right type of laws to protect homeowners in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I can't believe that happened. I think looking back, growing up, I grew up not rich by any means. Like, I grew up very poor. I want to be careful how I say that word, because poor to me may not be poor to other people, right? Mm-hmm. But I grew up where I'll put to you this way. I remember driving in my father's car, and my mom would sit in the passenger seat and pull out a little notebook from the glove compartment and write down the mileage that we're driving, because the speedometer didn't work, and the gas tank didn't work, or the gas gauge didn't work. So and then I remember my brother had a truck while he was in the Marines. We kept it, and I used to play like I was driving it. I grew up in the country. I used to play like I was driving it, and if you touched it on the exterior, your hand would turn blue. But I say that to say, in high school, my parents were able to buy a house. I don't know the situation. I was in high school. I didn't give a shit, but looking back, I'm like, I don't know if in today's world my parents would have been able to buy that house because of the stipulations now versus the stipulations then. So there's pros and cons. My parents are still in the house. It's paid for. My dad's got a phenomenal job. My mom's got a good job, all that wonderful stuff. But back in those days, I don't think they technically should have qualified for a house. house.
Probably not. We
Sorry, Mom.
Looking back, and now we have to qualify everybody. We got to get deep into their personal life and their finances, and there's so many things that we need to look out for to make sure that they, on our end, they can afford the house, right? So we can go back and say, you know what, we looked into everything. We can prove that they can afford the house.
Yeah.
Whether they make the payment or not, that's a different story, right? But back then, it was just a completely different ballgame.
All right, so we're going to stop bullshitting and actually get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, okay? All right, so as always, I got my little cheat sheet. And for the first time ever, I did send Ryan the script.
Yes, you did.
Because I was like, hey, I got a lot of questions for you, and maybe you should kind of be prepared for this. But I didn't give him any of the answers, guys, okay?
Right, yeah. I had to Google those.
Yeah, he had to Google them. He needs 24 years to be able to answer some of these.
Right, yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Starting out hot. In today's volatile real estate market, how do you handle the pressure of balancing the needs of both the buyer and the lending institution? I imagine that's quite a tightrope to walk.
It is. We're in the middle of our borrowers and their needs and their wants, right? And then we're also representing our company, and we have a whole list of regulations and rules to follow. So it is hard. We always want to do right by our customers. So if we do everything up front, we have those conversations with the buyers, make sure that they understand what they're doing, what they're getting into, and understanding their needs and their situation. Every family is very different, right? And their
Every loan's
needs,
different,
their wants, their goals, right? Their finances. So understanding those needs and where they want to be in the next couple of years will help us navigate the programs or the loan types that we suggest, or the path that they need to take to accomplish their goal of being a homeowner.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, though, we do have to make sure that we're in compliance as a lender, that we are making sure we disclose everything to the customers, giving them all the right information so that they can make the best decision for themselves and for their family to set them up to win.
Yeah.
Right? So it is a balance, but you learn to talk to people, you learn to probe, ask questions, and through that process, you learn how to best serve them.
Yeah. And I have seen, whenever I'm talking to a buyer and we're comparing lenders, right? I have seen some lenders up front tell them, yeah, we can get you a 3% interest rate, or whatever, and then you get this big old loan description, right? This paperwork, and on it says, $15,000 in buy downs. Well, who's going to pay it?
Right. Yeah.
And I know that's something, like, you guys want to be competitive with each other, right? And I tell all my buyers, and this is a disclosure for a disclaimer for all you buyers out there, just because it's on paper does not mean that's what you're getting.
Right.
Because somebody's got to pay for that. And if we can't negotiate that $15,000 buy down on top of that $8,000 closing cost, you're not getting that, and now we have to talk about that. So I know that it's a fine line that you walk between getting the loan, making the buyer happy, but you also have to pay the piper, right? Pay the Pied Piper. Isn't that what they say? And for everything you want as a buyer, me as a lender, I have to find a way to source that. If you want this rate, I can't. There's the rate. That has to come from somewhere, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I talk about first with my customers. Budget, not only sales price. I want to know what, have you discussed what your monthly payment you want?
Yeah.
Because we can qualify you for $300,000. You may qualify for that payment as far as we're concerned. But does your personal budget allow you to go that high?
Right.
There's two different numbers there. So I always ask them, what does your budget look like? What's the max you want to pay, so I can point you in the right direction? I'm also going to give you your max as far as we're concerned, just so you have some wiggle room if you need it. But the other thing that we talk about is, money. Funds to close.
Yep.
How much money are we working with here? Do you have money for a down payment? Do you have money to cover your closing costs if the seller's not going to?
Right. And now, do you have money to pay potentially a buyer's commission?
Right. So that's the conversation that we're starting to have. Who's paying for the buyer's agent? If you are, it's coming out of your pocket, then that's just another expense that we need to account for when we're sourcing these funds to close, right?
Correct.
So if I'm talking to a buyer and they say, Ryan, I've got 10 grand and that's got to cover everything, then I know that we're probably not looking at buy downs.
Yeah.
You know? So knowing your customer, having those conversations with them, and then putting them in the area that they need to be.
Right.
And not saying, hey, we'll get you a 3%, knowing it's going to cost $15,000 extra, knowing that they don't have it. And, you know, going from telling them, okay, well, you don't qualify for that 3.9% or whatever it is, it's going to be 7 or 8%. And their expectations now are just shot.
Yeah. And
the excitement's gone.
And your trust is gone.
Right.
That's the biggest takeaway from that. Because once once the person buying no longer trusts their loan officer, we might as well break that communication, break that relationship, and just say, let's go our separate ways.
Yeah, the excitement is gone. The luster of buying that house is gone, and like you say, you know, the trust. Well, why did you even bring that up to me?
Yeah.
You know, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
You know,
why'd you put that on a piece of paper? Right. You know that I can't afford.
And you gave me a payment based on that rate, and so on. So very important to talk to your customers about that up front, know their situation, and then guide them in that direction.
Yeah. I like that word, guide them. Make sure. And that is a big thing. I think we're going away from buyers saying, or we're trying to go away from buyers saying, this is the rate I want, and starting to get the buyers to say, what is the payment you want? Because if you're gonna base everything on the rate, you're never gonna be happy in today's market, and possibly not even in the next 2 to 3 years, because we're not going to go back to the 3s and the low 4s and the 2s. So I'm trying to get my buyers to understand, let's not focus on that rate so much as let's focus on what your payment is going to be, and then we can go from there. If you tell me your payment's $1,500 and that's all you have, I, as a realtor, should understand and know that here in El Paso, $150,000 is going to get you all of nothing.
Right.
Or $1,500 is going to get you all of nothing. But if that's what you have and that's what you want, okay, these are the houses you can qualify for. Potentially, with the right property taxes, we can get up to $170,000 in a loan to hit you that $1,500, because we got to deal with property taxes, we got to deal with home mortgage, and we got to deal with insurance, all included into your mortgage, that monthly mortgage payment. Right. So I tell people all the time, I don't care what you want as a rate. I want you to tell me what you want as a payment. And from there, we'll go on and say, okay, this is the number you need to look at. This is the type of houses you need to look for. And normally that's either going to make them go, oh, or that's going to go, okay, that's where I want to be. Because a lot of people think they're still in that mindset of back in the day, 2018, 2019, of $200,000 would get you everything you possibly wanted in El Paso. $200,000 right now is considered a fixer-upper.
Right.
I mean, you're going to have to put $10,000, $15,000 into it. Anyways, all right, I didn't mean to get off topic there, but there you go. All right, so we're going to jump into the next question. With interest rate fluctuating and economics uncertainties, what strategies do you employ to keep your clients informed and secure the best possible deal for them? Ooh.
Well, it's a tough question to answer. We have marketing campaigns. We got drip campaigns. So when a customer comes to us and they start their application, they give us all their information, they're going to get a lot of emails from us throughout the process, giving them information about rate and payment and that sort of thing. I don't believe it is the best choice to buy a house based on current rates.
Yep.
I think you're making a really big mistake if you're trying to buy a house and time the market just right, so you get that 5.99% rate instead of that 6.25. I think you're missing out on a whole lot more, and it's ending up costing you so much more in the long run.
Yeah, I've been saying that for months, almost a year now.
Yeah, most definitely. So I tell my customers, you need to start now. Okay, and maybe you're not going to buy now. That's fine, but you need to know where you stand today. Right? What does your credit look like? What does your finances look like? What does your debt look like? Let's get you in. Let's get you get the loan app submitted, and then let me do my job. Let me tell you where you're at, where you need to be. Some people qualify. I had this customer call me the other day. They weren't too excited about it, and they were like, "Well, my credit's not good." So I said, "No, let's find out where you're at. Let me take a look."
Yeah.
So she did the loan application, and I pulled the credit. It was a 600 credit score.
Yeah.
Everything else was good though.
Yeah.
Low debt, great income, They had some money in the bank, so if they needed to put a down payment or closing costs, they could. So at this point, it was just the credit. 607, I believe it was.
Yeah, we can fix that easy.
Easy. So it really was. I ran the report on how to rescore her. I think it was going to cost her like $300. Paying down $300 of debt was going to get her a 640.
Yeah.
And after you get above that 620 threshold, your program choices become so much greter.
Yeah, the gates of heaven open up.
They really do. They really do. You have so many more options.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at down payment assistance, and all sort of things. So yeah, I called her back. I said, hey, can you pay these debts down? She said, yeah, I actually already did.
Yeah, it
and
just
I was
hasn't.
like, oh, perfect.
We're great.
You're there then. Well, let's get a rescore going. You're going to be in this range after the rescore, and everything else looks great. She couldn't believe it, But because she was looking at some app that said she had a bad credit score, she was discouraged. And in the long run, not knowing, not being informed, not taking that step, and just waiting another year till her app said she had good credit, that could have cost her $10,000, $20,000 in a sales price, in interest rate, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, you gotta start now. You gotta be informed. Now, as far as rates, throughout the process, I'll talk to my customers and I'll say, hey, this is what rates are today when you're doing your loan app. Now, we can't lock you in unless you're under contract, right? Under normal circumstances, we do have lock and shop programs and different programs to lock in today's rate if you're worried that the rates are going to go up during the process to protect yourself. But I don't think that's where we're at today. So
I don't think so either.
We don't really push those, but it's available. If you've got a nervous customer and they say, Ryan, I want to lock it in, I don't care, I'm nervous, then we can do that. And if rates come down, we can float them down to current market rate, which is a nice option. But we tell them this is what rates are, and I always go maybe a quarter point higher than what they are today, just to give us some cushion.
Some cushion, yeah.
I'd rather tell them, hey, rates went up, but we're still within our budget.
Yeah.
Than tell them it's going to cost you another $50 a month, and then they're like, well, I can't afford that.
I can't afford it, yeah.
So I always give myself some wiggle room there.
Some grace.
Right.
That's
and then
really important.
Once they're under contract, then we're looking at rates and we're looking at the trend for the week. And, we subscribe to a lot of financial gurus like Gary Habib and whatnot, his company. And we get alerts every day when
and I watch
the market's moving.
I watch the Treasury throughout the day, see, okay, where's it at?
Right.
Oh, are we at a 4? Oh my gosh, are we at a 3.7? Yes. That's what I tell my buyers too. Like, those are the numbers. If you really want to watch the market and you don't know shit about shit, this is a little, here, I send them a little link, which one of my loan officers gave to me, and I say, the numbers, the beauty number, the number we're looking for is 3.7. If we get in that 3.7 for the Treasury, chances are rates are low that day. If we're at a 4 on that little scale, we're probably getting a notification that we should have locked yesterday.
Right, yeah. And like I said, as a company, they subscribe to so many things.
Yeah.
So if they're seeing movement, then they'll
tell you.
Alert to lock.
Yep.
You got loans in the pipeline that you've promised the rate on. Get them locked in before the market deteriorates, and then you're looking at something else.
Yep.
And over the last couple of years, it's been such a hard thing to do, with so much movement and rapid movement over the last couple of years. And sometimes, you see a market decline or improve once a day maybe. And at some times we were seeing 2 or 3 a day. Yeah. And it's hard to predict,
Especially the last 3 months. The last 3 months I feel like have been like, yes, rates came down. Oh, shoot. Oh, rates. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you had a week window maybe of good rates, and then boom, the next week those gains were lost.
Yeah.
So you start your process based on that good week, but it takes 30 days to get through.
Yeah.
Through 60 days to get through that process. So, if you're jumping in when the rates got better that week, and you're not under contract and you didn't lock in your rate,
you wait, yeah.
Well, now you missed the boat.
Yeah, you got it.
And so that's why it's impossible to time the market, and it's a big mistake to try and do that.
Yeah,
I'd say get into the race now.
Get into the race.
Get the loan app done. Be ready to pull that trigger, and then even if rates are low that week, are you going to find your perfect house that week?
Yeah, because guess what? Guess what? If you're waiting for that perfect moment, so is everybody
else.
else.
A lot of people waiting. So
there's so many people right now, 1 foot on the fence and then just waiting for that, just on pins and needle, waiting for that quarter to drop.
A whole gang of people waiting for that. And you know what's funny is that they've been waiting to do that for 2-3 years.
Yes.
In the meantime, that same $200,000 home 2-3 years ago is $270, whatever it is,
it's here in El Paso. If you thought like last year you could have got a home for $215,000, that same house now is $260, $270. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I talk about this so much on this podcast. I do not see how we can keep this up. I just don't. I would love to see a market balance. I don't give a shit about a buyer's market, a seller's market. I would like to come down to seeing a more stabilized, I can breathe, you can breathe, the buyers can breathe, the sellers can breathe type of market where we go, okay, this buyer who is 22, 23, 24 years old can afford a damn house.
Right.
Versus who the hell can, I talk about this guy that called me and talked about his property taxes in Kern going from $15,000 a year to $25,000 a year. And that's just one example. That's the biggest example I have. I have other ones where it went from $4,000 to $8,000. Well, that may not seem like as a big adjustment as a 15 to 25, but that guy that was in Kern can afford the same amount. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it number wise, that 15 to 25 for that guy making that kind of money is the same or equivalent to that $4,000 to $8,000 jump for that Army veteran.
Right.
Because that's an additional $200 to $400 a month in property taxes that you didn't think were going to happen.
Right. You didn't budget for it.
You didn't budget.
And you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
And now you're in a situation where you're either falling behind or you need to get some help from the lender or you need to just get out of the house.
You got to get out of the house. Because let me just say this. If you're having that problem this year, you're going to have that problem next year.
Absolutely.
Because the government, and I tell people this as well. In Texas, we don't have taxes, a state tax. In California, they do. In other states, they do have state tax. So what does that mean for us as Texans? That means they got to get their get somewhere. And how they're getting their get is from you and me as homeowners. They're going to say, well, yeah, okay, well, I need this amount of money. Where can I find that additional $6 trillion, I don't know, a year? Well, homeowners.
Right.
Oh, let's increase their value. Let's increase their home value, because by doing that, it increases property tax.
Yeah.
And I'm one of these realtors that I keep it 100%. Like, I'm going to tell you what I believe about that. And I believe that is bullshit.
Yeah.
I believe that the government should be ashamed of themselves for doing that. And I believe that local politicians should be ashamed of themselves. And I believe EPCAD, excuse me, I'm so sorry, hopefully I don't get in trouble for this. I believe EPCAD should be a little bit ashamed of themselves. And I think us as realtors should be ashamed of ourselves, because we are making it to where, oh my God, we're so going off script, and I'm so sorry about this.
No, that's fine. This is good stuff.
I believe we're making it to where the average home buyer can no longer be a home buyer. And I can't speak anywhere else in the country. I can only speak in El Paso. And so my hope, I'm going to tell you my politician dream, right? My hope is that we become more aware of the fact that we can no longer be listing these homes for $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 more than what we should be listing them for.
Right.
And it happens every day, all day. We're all responsible for it. I'm not better than the next person out there. We're all responsible for doing this and making this out of control, I believe, because we allowed the pandemic to, and I'm saying we, maybe not all of us, but I'm saying we to try and cover my ass here.
Not putting any fingers.
Yeah. I believe that we drove the market and we allowed personal greed to put us in the position that we're in right now across the country, which is where the average buyer has now goes, what the hell am I even fighting for?
Yeah, it's unattainable for a lot of first-time home buyers.
Yeah, I mean,
it really is.
I used to believe that in your 20s, you should be a homeowner. That was when I first got into real estate. I was like, if you're in your 20s, like, come on, let's do this. You got this. We can do this. Now I'm like, I don't even know if I don't even know someone like me, right? I'm in my 30s, and I don't even know if someone like me, my age, my career, my income, should even be putting their toes in the fire, because I'm so scared of what's coming when these rates do drop. Because I know I'm a realtor, I'm not supposed to be saying this, but I believe that we have made it, especially here in El Paso, we have made it a point to drive towards the listing agent or the seller, versus driving towards the buyer. And great, Mr. Seller, you're gonna make a shit ton of money, congratulations. But now you know who's gonna come buy it? An investor. And you know what he's gonna do? He's gonna rent that shit out. And now that single family or that family of 3 with a newborn, they can't afford to even rent. And okay, there's my bleeding heart. I'm gonna get off this topic. I'm so sorry.
No, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. But to your point, I think to help kind of curb all of that, I think a higher interest rate environment is not a bad thing.
No, I don't think so either.
I think and I'm not saying higher than they are today. I think if we can make it to the 5s, to the low 6s, I think it's a very healthy environment for everybody. I think it keeps everybody honest.
Yes.
And I think that's what you would want. We saw what happened when the rates were in the 2s and 3s. It was a gold rush.
Yeah.
And that's what skyrocketed prices.
And that's where we're at. That's why we're at where we are today.
Right.
Did I say that right? I hope I
did. You did, yeah.
That's why we're here, because look, this is the best. I know realtors are not going to be happy for me saying this. I think this is the best market we've had in a while, because I tend to be buyer driven. I tend to be I think everyone should be a homeowner. I think we should make this American dream the American dream again.
And buyers move the market.
Yes.
They create the market. Without your buyer, seller, you're staying home.
Yes.
You're not going anywhere.
I know, and I understand that a lot of buyers are scared, but they're scared because they don't understand that no one has told them this is the best time for you. Yes, the rates are a little crazy. Who cares? We refinance. We'll do what we need to do in 5 or 10 years or in 3 years or whatever. Right. But right now, you're going to get the best deal that you possibly can. Don't be scared. Please, heed my warning. I am trying to prepare you for what's coming. And what's coming is another shitstorm.
Yeah, and I've had that conversation with so many of my customers and tell them, buy a house today.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be your dream home.
No.
And that's okay if it's not your dream home. Get into a house, because guess what? Whatever the market does over the next 5 years, if it skyrockets, you're protected, because you're in a house and your value is going to go up.
Yeah.
So when you sell that house, now you've got a lot of equity.
Go throw that into the
and now you
dream.
can go look for your dream home. Yeah. Right. Now you've got some cash. Now you're a different kind of buyer.
Yeah.
Now you have a lot more options.
Yeah.
And you can do what you want to do. But if you stay on the fence while the market is going up and you're missing that boat and you're not gaining appreciation and all that other stuff with the market, then you're in a worse position 2, 3, 4 years down the road than you were before.
And again, I go back to buy it because you can, and prepare yourself to understand that if you don't, the big man or the big lady is going to come in and buy it up from underneath you.
Absolutely.
And then they're going to rent it back to you for $500 or $600 more than your mortgage would be.
Yeah. And we see that a lot in our industry, where companies are coming in and they're buying up a lot of rental property.
All of it.
And they're trying to regulate some of that, but it's impossible to regulate.
Money talks, bullshit walks. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, all the regulations in the world are not going to stop this from happening, because those people who are making the regulations are lining their pockets with the same money that those big corporations are giving them for protecting them. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to go there, but that is, if you're waiting for a big Mr. Uncle Sam to protect you and give you assets and say they're going to protect us, no one is going to protect you but you.
That's true.
And the only person that's going to be out for your future is you. There's no one that knows you better than you. There's no one that can protect you better than you. And there's no one that'll love you better than you. Yeah. So do what you got to do. Yeah, do what you got to do. Even if it's just like a little house, I really think now's the time.
Yeah, even if it's, like I said, not your dream home, maybe it needs some work. Maybe it's not in the area that you choose, and you got to drive a little further to work or to school or whatnot.
Hold it for 5 years.
It's a temporary situation, but you're setting yourself up for so much more down the road.
Yeah, because I can tell you right now, off the top of my head, I have 10 people that are waiting for the rates to go down in 2025.
No.
So if you buy right now and you hold on to that, that little property for the next 2 to 3 years, those people that just went and flooded the gates of hell, I'm going to call it hell, the flooded the gates of hell in 2025 and 2026 and bought these houses, and now the market is crazy and blah, blah, blah. Now that little $200,000 house you have is $260,000.
Right.
I just told you it happened in 2022 or 2021, 2022, and I'm going to tell you again it's going to happen in 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, most definitely. I believe that. Yeah, if the rates do head that way, then
they are going to. I think they are.
So buy your house now.
Buy your house now. I can't say it enough.
Yeah. Me too.
Buy and if you don't, it's okay. That's okay. I'm telling you, buy now. If you don't want to listen, totally fine. Totally fine with me. I will sell you the house in a year. You can cry because you're going to lose out on 16, 17 houses. Because we won't go back to those rates of COVID, but we will go back to the times of COVID. The second that the rates go in the 5s or mid 5s, you already know so many people are going to come in and say, I want this house, I want this house.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, all right, let's get off that. Let's go to the next one. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I don't even know what we're talking about these days. Oh, this is a good one. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see first-time homebuyers make during the loan application, and how do you help them avoid these pitfalls?
I see so many mistakes, to be honest with you. I'd say a big one is earnest money, and being able to source earnest money. And I have this conversation with so many of my agents that I work with. It's such a big part of the process because most times we need every dollar,
every penny
that we can find
Yeah.
for the transaction, right? And if your buyer puts $1,000 earnest money, and we can't source that money, they don't get credit for that money at closing. They'll get reimbursed from the title company, but
Sorry,
let's say the cash to close is $10,000, right? And they've put $1,000 towards the transaction as earnest money, but we can't source it, right? So the buyer now thinks,
I only got to bring $9,000.
Yeah, I only need $9,000, right? And then in their mind, they're budgeting for $9,000. I already gave $1,000, but then we come to realize that we can't source that $1,000. They gave it cash. They went to the ATM and they gave it to their agent, or they went and, I see so many different
money
things.
orders.
Yeah, money orders from, they had $1,000 at home. We cannot source cash. So now we're in a position where, we got to back that $1,000 out. You're going to get it back. Don't worry. You're not going to lose it. But we need $10,000 now. And then, I already gave $1,000.
All I have is $9,700.
Yeah, and so now we're like, okay, now maybe we have to wait till payday comes, which is maybe we need an extension now. Maybe we have to extend the rate.
Now, guess what? You got to pay for that extension.
Yeah, now it's going to cost you more money. Now we need to verify more funds, right? And on and on and on. So one little change in the mortgage world just has a snowball effect.
Yeah.
It really is. So that's the biggest thing, and I feel that. And not to offend anybody, of course.
We don't offend anyone on this podcast. Right? Never, ever. There's no ever have I ever offended anyone in my entire life.
Yeah, but I see, agents and builder reps all across the board. They're so eager to get that house under contract. They've got those emotions flowing from that buyer. They just saw the house, they fell in love with it, and they want that commitment now. So what do? Oh, I want money now. Let's lock you in right now. Let's get this under contract. So go to the ATM, ask dad to write you a check, whatever it is, but we need it now.
Yeah.
And without thought, they do that. So earnest money, I think, is a big one. We got to be able to source where every penny for that transaction comes from.
Right.
If we cannot, we have to back it out, and you got to come up with the difference.
Yeah.
And again, you're not going to lose any money. It'll get refunded to you at the end of the transaction.
Well, that's not true. You may lose it because you may not be able to close on the house.
Well, in that sense, yes. It might jeopardize the transaction, and then you've lost whatever you have invested into.
Especially on a resale, because sellers may be upset that now they have to change their plans.
Right.
because they got to wait 14 more days
Right.
for
Or maybe
payday.
they have a
A
backup
closing,
offer.
yeah, or a closing on their own.
Or a better offer came
better
through.
offer, yeah.
So many things.
Yep.
I mean, it one little thing can turn into such a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I'd say earnest money is a big one. Changing jobs during
Oh,
the
my God.
transaction. I've had a customer come to me and say, yeah, well, I changed your job 2 weeks ago. I thought we were done. No, you can't do that. Now
Yeah.
and it's okay. I mean, it's not something we can't overcome, but it's going to change things.
It's
Now
gonna-
we
yeah,
need a
now we
month
gotta
of
verify.
pay stubs from your new employer. So now we definitely need an extension. So,
Wow.
or taking time off.
Yep.
And now your pay isn't as consistent as it was, and now we got to figure that out.
Buying a new car.
Buying a new car,
Oh,
making any kind of big purchase.
You know what? The biggest one that gets me goes and buys furniture for their new home.
Oh, yes.
And gets a loan for it. Do not zoom in. Do not do that shit. Do you hear me? You're going to look like a damn fool if you go and buy furniture for a house you don't even have, and now you got a loan and it kills the deal. Now what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't even sell it because you don't even own it. Okay? Do not go and get a loan on a furniture store credit. Buy it with cash or wait till we close on the house.
Yeah, I'd say wait. That's
Yeah.
the safest thing to do. Now,
Yes.
a lot of people think, well, how are they going to know? I'm not going to tell anybody. We're going to know. We're going to know towards the
I
end
just
of the
had an aneurysm. We are going to know.
We're going to find out because
Yes.
one of the things that we do towards the end of a transaction is we're going to look at your credit. We're not going to pull credit again.
Yeah, but we're
we're
gonna-
going to look at your inquiries. We're
Yeah.
going to see, have you gone and shopped for anything and pulled your credit anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
And if we see Casa Ford, and I don't even know if I can say company names. can
Yeah,
I?
I don't.
But if we see any dealership names or household furniture names, and we're going to be like, oh, okay, so they're shopping.
They're shopping.
And what are they shopping for? So
Yep.
now we need a letter from the borrower.
Yep.
Did you open an account? Yes or no? If you did, we need the statement.
Mm-hmm.
And then the floodgates open, like you say. Well, then we need all kinds of documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Did your debt ratio change? Did your qualification change? Do you even qualify anymore?
Yeah.
So we'll know. So don't think we won't.
And the
We
crazy
will.
thing is, these furniture places, they don't get you for like $5,000. They get you for like $15,000, $20,000.
Oh, easy.
Oh, like, oh, you need to furnish every single room of your house, and you need to go get this and that and that. Please.
And you're so excited, and you're
please.
doing it.
You're like, fuck yes. I'm like,
Now you got a $400 or $500
bill.
payment.
Yeah.
And now your debt ratio is way off. So don't make any big purchases. Don't move money around. I see people transferring from their checking to their savings, from parents' accounts to their account.
Mm-hmm.
We have to trace everything.
Everything.
And the more money you're moving, the more bank statements we're going to need, the more
Mm-hmm.
times we're going to call you, the more annoyed you're going to be with us.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that snowball effect. So
Do not.
don't do any of that. Talk to your loan officer before you make any decisions about anything.
And here's my disclaimer for you realtors. And I always go after the realtors, so that's why I say we don't offend anyone here. As a realtor, you have one main job as a buyer's agent. Protect your buyer. That is your main job, is to protect your buyer. If you're allowing your buyer to do a money order for earnest money, you're failing your buyer. If you allow your buyer to call their mom and get $5,000 or $4,000 or $2,000 or $1,000 or $500 for earnest money, you're failing your buyer. If you are saying, hey, go get that cash from underneath that mattress and turn your earnest money in, you're failing your buyer, okay? You and I both know there are two things you can do: a personal check and a cashier's check. Those are or a wire. Those are your three options to protect your buyer. It's that simple. Don't do anything else. Another thing, if you're not having that conversation with your buyers at the moment of conception of that relationship, which means when you're sitting down with that buyer and you're talking about, do you want to hire me and do I want to hire you? And you're not telling them from this moment on, don't go piss in a pot without asking me for permission, you're failing your buyer.
Right.
That's how I speak. This is mine and Ryan's really first time like really sitting down with each other, so he's probably learning who I am
What is going on?
pretty quickly.
No.
But I believe that we have a duty, a responsibility, and it's a good responsibility that we have to protect our buyers. And if you're not doing that, and you're not doing the things, the super small, easy things that protect your buyers, such as this, then you're not doing the big things where it really matters.
Yeah, and we know better, right?
Yeah.
I've been in the business for 23 years.
You cannot tell me as a realtor and a loan officer you don't know better.
Right. And if you don't, well, then there's something wrong, right?
Then you shouldn't be a realtor or a loan officer.
You should know better. And we know the severity of what buyers do. Mm-hmm. They don't know.
Yeah.
They're just living their life. They're going to
work.
They
have no
they're
clue.
taking care of their kids. They have no idea what impact such a small activity could have on the whole process. It is our job to convey
the importance.
To them. Right.
Because they don't think about consequences. They're like your child.
Yes.
They're like your child.
Absolutely.
My child does not think about consequences whenever he goes and sneaks and steals candy from the pantry.
Tam is just a candy.
He's like,
candy.
Fuck it, I want my candy. I'm going to go get my candy. Yeah. For me, I have to explain to him, okay, if you're sneaking candy into your room at night and it's something that you can choke on, how is mommy going to be able to protect you and save you if you're choking?
Right.
Oh, mommy, I didn't think about that. I know, because you're a 7-year-old and you're not thinking about that stuff.
Right.
My baby, I want to ride my bike around the stove while you're cooking. Baby, you can't do that, because if you go and hit that stove and it's really hot, it's going to hurt, it's going to burn, it's going to go ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. Yeah. Well, I have to talk to my buyers like that. Yeah. And that's okay. By the way, buyers, that is nothing against you.
At all.
You are a baby. Unless you're a seasoned buyer or an investor, you are a baby in real estate. And that means that I must tell you, ouchie, ouchie, don't touch the fire, it's hot. It will hurt. Right? Or pretend, ow, it hurts. It burn mama. It burn mama. Okay, so I have to talk to you like I talk to my
and if
baby.
you don't have someone in your corner advocating for you, like your realtor, like your loan officer,
you're screwed.
Then,
I'm going to be honest.
You're probably not getting the best service.
I'm going to tell you this. If you don't have a realtor in your corner that's advocating for you, why do you have a realtor at all? Because guess what they're doing? They're sitting down, oh, I'm really about to piss people off. They're sitting down, they're collecting a check, and they don't give a shit what's protecting you and what's happening to you. If that's your type of realtor, chances are just go do it by yourself. Especially now with the new structure change and everything. Why you need them? If they're not, if I'm not, if I am not showing my worth and earning my worth, you don't need me. Please go do it yourself, or find somebody that's going to be better. Because if you're not getting your due diligence, you're going to regret the decision.
Yeah, and now more than ever, because of all these changes, we need to show our value to the customer. We need to bring something to the table, and something avoiding something like an earnest money check or deposits, or having those conversations can save the deal from falling apart.
I can already tell this is going to get some people riled up.
Okay,
but that's
maybe we'll
okay.
get some likes or thumbs down. Some kind of attention is good, right?
All attention's good attention.
So we'll take it.
I see TikToks all the time about like, oh, realtors are just door openers. And then realtors get angry about, oh, I'm not a door opener. Show me. Prove it. This is the kind of conversation we should be having. If you don't understand earnest money and why we're turning it in the certain way that we're turning it in, then you are a damn door opener.
It's such a basic part of the transaction.
I'm pissing people off.
Every transaction's got it, but you got to do it right.
You got to do it right.
In order to make it count.
And we're not perfect.
Absolutely.
By all means, I am not perfect. I've made plenty of mistakes. Right. But you know what? It's about growing and getting better and showing your worth and teaching buyers. That's what this whole thing, my whole schnick, or how do you say it? Shtick? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is knowledge, power, education, making sure that everyone that comes in contact with me is better today because they met me and we talked about real estate than they were yesterday when they were the babies of real estate.
Right, and even if they're not buying today, maybe it's going to take them a year to get it together or 2 years or whatnot, but they're going to remember that conversation with Erica. Yeah. They're going to remember the passion that they saw in your eyes, the knowledge that you brought to them, and how you set them up to become a homeowner down the road.
Yeah,
and hopefully they call you
again,
back.
it doesn't matter if you don't buy today, because we're going to put you in this nice little thing that's called a drip campaign, and you're going to see my beautiful face at least once a week on your social media or on your emails or on your phone calls or a text message or something along those lines. And I'm sure you probably do the same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Because when you're going to buy real estate, I want you to buy with the best, and there's no one better than me.
That's awesome. And we should all feel that way about ourselves. Yeah.
All right, let's get back to it. Let's get back. And there's no one better than him. There you go. I plug you too.
I'm going to say I agree to that. Thank you so much.
I mean, 23 years in real estate as a loan officer, and that's impressive.
I have a passion for it. I have a passion for problem solving. I have a passion for helping customers get into their house. Sometimes I'm going to tell you things you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe today or this year is not the year for you to buy, and that's okay. If you can, you should.
Yeah.
If you can't, well, you can't, right? But
if you can't, let's
do
find
all
a path.
these things. We're going to do all these things, Mr. Buyer, and if you do these over the next 6 months, you're going to be a homeowner next year.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the right time for you at that point? I don't know, but you'll have the option.
Yep.
Right?
And options are better than nothing.
Absolutely. Having options is going to open doors for you. And you may decide, well, next year is not the right time, and that's fine. Because it's really about when is the right time for me to buy.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not the same for everybody because everybody's so different. And I see that every day with every loan application I take, with every family I talk to. It's so different.
Well, hello there. I just got done editing part 1. This is so much information that we have to do a 2-part episode. So episode number 2 is going to come out next week. So make sure that you're subscribed. You got your notifications on and you're following us on podcasts and all that wonderful stuff. And of course on social media. So you know when episode 2 comes out next week. But look, I'll show you. There's episode 1. And here's going to be episode 2. A whole nother 45 minutes to an hour that I have to go through and edit, push down and try and make it into a 30-minute episode. We talked about a lot of stuff. We gave a lot of information, and I'm super excited to put out episode number 2. So I hope you enjoyed episode number 1. We'll see you on the second one. And remember, more knowledge today means more power tomorrow.